Reshore, right? Let's start talking about the auto industry, right? We've been competed against by Koreans, the Japanese, the Europeans. We're kicking our tail.
Hopefully with our vice president, many of our cabinet members, but the opportunity.
You just watched that clip. The President of the United States, the most powerful man on earth, appearing to fall asleep, not once, not twice, but multiple times during an official cabinet meeting at the White House. And here's the thing nobody is saying out loud enough. This isn't just about one man's sleeping habits. This is a symptom, a symbol of something much, much bigger happening inside the Republican Party right now. Because while the president was closing his eyes in that room, his party, the party that controls the House of Representatives by one of the thinnest margins in modern American history, is quietly crumbling. 34 Republican lawmakers have already announced they are not coming back. The Cook Political Report, the most respected nonpartisan election forecaster in Washington, just shifted 18 House seats toward the Democrats. And every single special election held in 2025, Democrats are overperforming. Every single one. So today we are breaking down the full story. Why is the Republican House majority on life support? Why are so many Republicans running for the exit? And what does all of this mean for 2026 and for America? Stay with me, because this gets wild. Let's start with the math, because the math alone should terrify every Republican strategist in Washington. After the 2024 elections, House Republicans held a majority of 220 seats to the Democrats' 215. That sounds okay on paper, right? But in the real world of governing, it is a nightmare. Here's why. To pass any legislation in the House, you need 218 votes. That means Speaker Mike Johnson can afford to lose, at most, 2 Republican votes on any given bill. Just 2. But here's the reality check. The House Republican caucus has never been more fractured, more rebellious, or more difficult to manage. There are hard-right members of the Freedom Caucus who regularly vote against their own leadership. There are moderate Republicans from swing districts who are terrified of backlash from their constituents. And there are now at least 34 Republican members who have already said they won't even be running again in 2026. Now, open seats, seats where no incumbent is running, are historically the most vulnerable to flipping. And right now, Republicans have far more of those than Democrats. The New York Times reported in January 2026 that the House Republican majority had shrunk to almost nothing, just a handful of votes separating them from losing control entirely. And Fox News, not exactly known for being friendly to Democrats, published a piece admitting that the House GOP's razor-thin majority is threatening to grind Trump's entire Capitol Hill agenda to a halt. This isn't spin. This isn't partisan politics. This is arithmetic. And right now, the arithmetic is not on the Republican side. Now, here's where it gets really serious. The Cook Political Report is widely considered the gold standard of election forecasting. They are nonpartisan. They are methodical. And when they shift seat ratings, the political world pays attention. In early 2026, Cook shifted 18 House seat ratings, all 18 of them moving in the direction of Democrats. Let me repeat that. 18 seats, all shifting blue. Not one of those 18 moved toward Republicans. Not one. The reason Cook cited? 2 things. Number 1, President Trump's deeply unpopular approval ratings. Number 2, Democrats' consistent overperformance in every special election held during Trump's second term. And let's talk about those special elections for a moment, because they are incredibly revealing. In 2025, Democrats flipped 21% of GOP-held state legislative seats in special elections. They flipped a state Senate seat in a deeply Republican region of Pennsylvania. They pulled off stunning upsets in Georgia districts that Trump won by double digits. Special election results are historically one of the best early predictors of how the next midterm will go. And right now, every data point is flashing red for Republicans. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, or more specifically, the Republican elephant in the room. President Trump began his second term with approval ratings above 50%, riding high on the wave of his 2024 election victory. Americans were willing to give him a chance. The honeymoon was real. But by the end of 2025, that honeymoon was over. Pew Research Center, one of the most credible polling organizations in the country, released data in January 2026 showing that confidence in Trump had dipped significantly, with fewer Americans now saying they support his policies and plans. And here's the number that should shake every Republican in Congress. According to a Mass Live report citing an Emerson College poll, 43% of voters said they plan to cast their ballot in opposition to President Trump in the 2026 midterms. Only 29% said they'd vote in support of him. That is a 14-point gap. In a midterm election environment where enthusiasm and turnout are everything, that gap is catastrophic for Republicans trying to hold their slim House majority. Axios put it bluntly in their behind-the-curtain analysis. Republicans aren't only losing elections, they're consistently losing support on prices and the economy in all polls, big or small, Republican-leaning or not. One of the most telling signs of a party in trouble isn't what politicians say, it's what they do. And what are Republican members of Congress doing right now at record rates? They are leaving. As of March 2026, at least 34 House Republicans have announced they will not seek re-election. That number keeps climbing. NPR's Congressional Retirement Tracker found that more than 10% of the entire Congress won't return after the 2026 elections, a record number. Now, some of these members are running for the Senate. Fine, but many of them are simply done, walking away from Congress entirely. And when experienced incumbents walk away from competitive or even safe-ish seats, those seats become dramatically more vulnerable. Incumbency is one of the greatest advantages in American politics. When you remove it, you open the door. The Kansas Reflector reported that it's not just outside observers saying Republicans will suffer in 2026. It's Republican members of Congress themselves who are privately, and in some cases publicly, sounding the alarm. And The Hill reported that Republican lawmakers are growing increasingly concerned the 2026 midterm elections will be a wipeout that costs them control of both chambers. This isn't Democrats talking. This is Republicans privately telling each other, we are in serious trouble. Now, we need to address something that has been generating enormous discussion across news networks, late-night television, and social media for months: the president's visible behavior in public settings. Throughout late 2025, President Trump appeared multiple times to struggle to keep his eyes open during official events. The most prominent incident occurred on December 2nd, 2025, during a White House cabinet meeting. Video footage, widely reported by the New York Times, PBS NewsHour, and broadcast on multiple major networks, showed the president closing his eyes repeatedly over a roughly 75-minute stretch of the meeting. The president himself later addressed it, saying, and I'm quoting, that he closed his eyes because the meeting got pretty boring and he wanted to get the hell out. Vanity Fair published a year-in-review piece titled, "In 2025, Trump couldn't escape questions about his health," documenting not just the sleeping incidents, but questions about his hands, his speech patterns, and his visible fatigue at various events. The Guardian noted that Trump has robustly defended his health, but acknowledged this has become a recurring storyline throughout his second term. Whether you are a supporter or a critic of the president, the political reality is simple. Perception matters. When a president appears visibly exhausted or distracted during official functions, it creates doubt. And doubt in a midterm election cycle where the president's party is already historically disadvantaged is poison. Here's something every American voter should know, and every Republican strategist is losing sleep over. No pun intended. For the past 80 years, with almost no exceptions, the president's party loses House seats in midterm elections. It's one of the most consistent patterns in all of American political history. Political scientists call it midterm loss rule. Voters, by and large, use midterm elections to push back against whoever is in power. It happened to Obama in 2010. It happened to Clinton in 1994. It happened to Trump himself in 2018, when Democrats retook the House. The University of Virginia's Center for Politics published research asking, what do voters expect in 2026? And the data suggests that even though some Republicans are hopeful, the historical gravity of the midterm curse is very real. And the Miller Center at the University of Virginia put it plainly. The odds that the Republicans will hold their slim House majority in 2026 are small. The internal fractures, the mass retirements, the declining approval ratings, the overperforming Democrats in special elections, the 18-seat ratings shifting blue. These aren't random events. They are all symptoms of the same disease, a governing majority that is losing its grip on power, one vote at a time. Now, in fairness, Republicans are not simply giving up. National Republican Congressional Committee Chair Representative Richard Hudson pushed back on the Democratic narrative, telling Fox News Digital, "I like our chances of holding the House majority." Republican leadership has also approved a rule change, allowing the party to hold a midterm election convention, an unusual step designed to strengthen their position heading into November 2026. And Cherry Beckert's political analysis notes that while Democrats are energized, there are scenarios where Republicans could hold on, particularly if economic conditions improve or if Democratic candidates in swing districts struggle to find a cohesive message. The House GOP faces big structural problems, but elections are not decided by forecasts. They are decided by voters. And between now and November 2026, a lot can change. So here's where we land. The House Republican majority is meager. It is fragile. It is under siege from multiple directions at once, a shrinking numerical advantage, a wave of retirements, declining presidential approval ratings, and a Democratic Party that smells blood in the water. Whether you're a Democrat who is energized by this moment, or a Republican who believes your party can turn things around, the stakes heading into 2026 cannot be overstated. Control of the House of Representatives determines whether legislation passes or dies. It determines whether investigations happen. It determines the balance of power in Washington for years to come. And right now, that balance is teetering. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up. It genuinely helps more people find this content. Drop a comment below. Do you think Republicans can hold the House in 2026? Or is a Democratic wave already forming? Subscribe if you haven't already. We cover American politics with facts, fairness, and no fluff. And I'll see you in the next one.